When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
Welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now let's talk about this story. Britain's data watchdog is demanding answers from Meta. You know Meta, right? Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, that company, Mark Zuckerberg. They're demanding answers from Meta after reports that contractors were reviewing footage from its Ray-Ban Meta AI-powered smart glasses. And the footage that was coming from people's homes in highly personal moments, including moments like going to the bathroom, private moments between couples. New probe raises questions about how the tech giant handles sensitive data. Let's go to Mitch Joel here, tech advisor, investor, author of Control Alt Delete. He's on the line. Hi, Mitch. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
What are those glasses you're wearing? Are you recording me on your glasses right now? Are those one of those Ray-Bans?
These are non-recordable Ray-Bans, not at all Ray-Bans.
Thank goodness. Now, I know you love the idea of festooning your face with cameras and glasses and goggles, but what's your take on this of contractors getting access to highly personal private videos?
In the early days of social media, going back to 2004, 2005, I made a statement that was, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of public opinion. So be very careful about what you're posting online. And we see what happened there. Everybody posting means you almost don't see the craziness, and it created a whole level of chaos that I don't think any of us back then thought would be the inevitability. Now, when I think about it, I just feel like anything you say can or record can and will be used against you, not only in the court of public opinion, but by private corporations. And that's probably the nuance that we need to address. I never suspected Meta, Google, or anybody to have internal teams reviewing this type of content. I always suspected they would offload that to a third-party partner. I would always suspect that if you dig into these terms of services and their privacy statements, that they say some of this information could be used that way. They push the onus back on the user. Do we expect the user to read multiple pages of terms of service and know when they're using it or not? Do we know in these instances if the actual user wanted to record those things and then found out to their detriment that, it goes beyond whomever? Understand that this stuff is out there. It is going to some type of cloud. There is storage. They do have terms of services of what you can and can't do with these technologies, and they're getting better and more sophisticated at being able to read it. And so we have to figure out, as we say here week in and week out, what is this social contract? What do consumers actually know when they're buying them? Are they doing it on purpose or because they want to record and they don't care? What is all of this? And we don't know, because the technology is moving a lot faster than the regulation. And also the nuances of the uses aren't necessarily what the intended versions are. So again, it's the old saying that the inventor often doesn't know what the invention will be used for.
Yeah, but let me ask you if this is different. You know, if I record a video here with my smartphone, I got my smartphone, I record a video. I sort of feel that, okay, I know Apple's not going to have, either Apple employees or an Apple subcontractor is not looking through my camera roll and getting access to this video. It seems like here we're talking about something very different. And I'm just wondering why at all? Like, why? Because I think there would be outrage if we found out, hey, Apple, by the way, Apple announces, oh, yeah, we look through your videos. It's all for good reasons. You signed the terms and conditions. I don't think that's the case, but am I being naive here?
Well, yeah, I mean, Wolfie's a little young for this, but if you have a kid that you put onto Apple and they actually tell you, do you want to have your kid be exposed to images and filters? They do have filters around what is being shown and what people have access to.
Yeah, but nobody's looking at my photos here. Now, I understand Meta can say, well, this is new technology and we have to be able to know how people are using our smart glasses, so this is why we're doing it. But, you know, maybe that's the whole problem with the technology. I think this is nonsense, by the way, to put cameras on your glasses. But
I know you, but look, last week we had a conversation about whether or not OpenAI had a responsibility to talk about what happened in BC in terms of that. And it was a very contentious topic as well. So until we, again, as a society, decide what is the path we want to go down here, we have to understand that 7 million pairs of these Meta glasses were sold in 2025. Yeah. It's insane. 88% of all of the sales for these types of glasses are happening essentially through Meta and Facebook. And look, we have these people, these leaders, whether we like them or not. Mark Zuckerberg happened to say that we're all going to live in the metaverse. That never happened. But he is very convinced that, a future without smart glasses is kind of hard to imagine. And if you think about the fact that people wear these devices, whether they're AirPods or glasses or whatever, they tend to want it to be more connected and have more information. We're constantly tracking ourselves with all of these devices.
I'm just thinking, isn't it fair to think that under no circumstances should a company ever have access unless you're giving it specific approval to go, hey, look at this. They should never be able to look at things that you've recorded with your devices?
I think it is fair to make it an opt-in, opt-out scenario. I do. But then we also have the law enforcement side of it, which is if that person uses this for nefarious reasons, are we going to hold them accountable or be mad at them not? So again, it's all of these nuances of a world where it is moving very, very quickly. People are using it in ways in which we could never have imagined or could have imagined. But then what do you do with this information? What if in those scenarios, what the person was doing was fundamentally illegal or harmful to others? Would we want people to have access to that content? And this becomes the debate.
But there's your slippery slope argument. Well, it's if in order to catch bad guys, then it's okay.
That's all my argument.
Yeah,
but it's the argument that society seems to push down. I mean, again, we talked about this with OpenAI last week in relation to the fact that the government had interventions with this family multiple times and is almost doing the inverse of that by saying, well, OpenAI didn't tell us.
Yeah. And also a word for these people, these contractors. I've heard terrible things about the mental strain of these contractors that have to task themselves with looking at sometimes these videos, because it's not all fun and candy and fun things, right?
And it was like that with social media as well. This is just the proliferation of it. And by the way, we should also note that we are not in a world where it's somewhat isolated. Google is looking at doing these types of technologies. We know that Apple is as well. We know that Snap already has them and is moving that off into its own subsidiary. So it's not even like there's one product, one thing to worry about. It actually is this shift of what happened when we went from landlines to cell phones to then smartphones to then content. If you remember, it wasn't long ago where someone was walking down the street speaking loudly, you would think they had a psychological issue. And now if they're not doing that, you feel like they might be somewhat lonely because they have no one to talk to.
Yeah. Hey, before I let you go, I want to get to one other item here. Apple seemingly attacking the low end of the market. They've released a new laptop called the MacBook Neo. Why is this a story for you, Mitch, that Apple's entering this space?
If you want to have any type of Apple computer, you were looking at plus $1,000 on a great day, typically closer to $1,500 in terms of reality. Competitively on the Windows PC side, you had, and also on the Google side, you had these Chromebooks. You could get a simple kind of plasticky laptop that you could connect to the internet and do all your stuff with for a couple $100 up to $700. To see Apple come out with a product that is well within that is just a brilliant move when you think about their ecosystem. For the vast majority of students in particular, or people who don't do a lot of hardcore work in terms of editing or AI, what do you need? You need access to a browser and your Google Docs and things like that. Yeah. And lovely, here you go. And so to bring people in, get them more accustomed to the usage, see how it connects to your iPhone, your AirPods, potentially that's a great upsell into a MacBook Pro. I really love the fact that they are competing with a much more reasonable product. And obviously, there's limitations to the technology of what it is, but it's still phenomenally good for people, especially students who just have some work to do.
I just find it hilarious now that Apple is selling a laptop for cheaper than its high-end headphone. Like the AirPod Max is more expensive, especially when you factor in education pricing, than a set of headphones, which is a change of course for Apple. All right, Mitch, got to leave it there. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Elias.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.